The legend says they were lowered in wicker baskets. The truth is far more terrifying. Look closely. This isn't just a photograph of a train. It's a photograph of an audience. Well-dressed men and women, out for a day of thrilling entertainment. Their theater, a sheer cliff face, a place of constant, deadly peril. It begs a question that haunts the edges of this picture. What is the price of a view? And who is really paying it?
You found your way back to Old West Unseen. Thank you for venturing with us. Today, we peel back the legend of the Transcontinental Railroad to find the ghosts hiding in the granite. The real story of Cape Horn isn't about iron and steel. It's about the flesh and bone that made it possible. Before the railroad could challenge the Great Cliffs, it first had to cross 100 ravines like this one. The Central Pacific's advance east from Sacramento was a slow, brutal war against the terrain of the Sierra Nevada. Even creating a simple wagon road through these bluffs was a feat of grit and black powder. But a railroad required a gentle, steady grade. It could not tolerate steep climbs or sharp turns. The engineering challenge was an order of magnitude greater. The solution was the wooden trestle. These colossal structures, built from the forests they were clearing, allowed the railroad to march across canyons instead of going around them. They were temporary, breathtaking, and utterly essential to the advance.
Imagine standing in the silence of this ravine, watching this wooden skeleton rise. 120 feet high, 600 feet long. It must have seemed like a structure from another world. A fragile spiderweb of timber meant to carry tons of iron and steam.
The engineering was brilliant. Many of these trestles were prefabricated in sections, allowing for remarkably fast assembly on site. To the investors back east, it was a miracle of efficiency.
But on the ground, efficiency was just another word for risk. For the men climbing these skeletal frames, a single misplaced foot or a slick of rain was a death sentence. There were no safety nets here, just ambition and gravity. And some carried names that hinted at the frontier's hidden stories. This is the secret town trestle, a sweeping curve of wood 1,100 feet long. The town it served is long gone, but the name lingers, a whisper of the clandestine gold rush camps that dotted these hills.
But their construction was anything but elegant. It was a chaotic ballet of brute force and carpentry. Thousands of feet of Douglas fir, shaped and fastened by hand, rising from the forest floor under the relentless California sun, each joint a potential point of failure. This is the Long Ravine Bridge, as seen from the top of Cape Horn itself. It served as a vital link, allowing men and material to reach the foot of the final, greatest obstacle. All this effort, all these wooden giants, were merely the prelude.
To see a train cross was to witness a victory, a testament to ambition over gravity. But each of these victories in the foothills only brought the railroad closer to a place where wood and engineering alone would not be enough. The real war was about to begin. And then there was this, Cape Horn, a sheer granite cliff dropping 1,400 feet to the American River. It wasn't a ravine to be bridged, but a wall to be broken. To the engineers, it looked like the end of the line.
White laborers refused the work. They said it was suicide. So the Central Pacific turned to a workforce they initially scorned. Thousands of Chinese immigrants. They were considered disposable. They would become indispensable.
The legend says they were lowered in wicker baskets. But the truth, found in forgotten records, is more terrifying. They were suspended by ropes tied around their waists, dangling over the abyss, hand-drilling holes for black powder, and praying they were hauled up in time.
This was the result. A narrow ledge, a scar of progress barely wide enough for a single track. Every inch was paid for with the risk of a frayed rope, a misplaced charge, or a sudden rock slide from the blasting crews working far above.
For this peril, a Chinese worker earned $30 a month, from which he had to pay for his own food and shelter. A white worker earned $35, with room and board provided. It wasn't just a wage gap. It was the price of a man's life.
And this was the life that wage afforded them. Mobile tent cities, exposed to the brutal heat and cold, moving along with the end of track. Here, they cooked their own food, cared for their own sick, and found community in a land that saw them only as labor. This is Superintendent James Strobridge, the hard-driving boss in charge of construction, a man known for his ruthless efficiency. Here he is with his family, in a rare moment of quiet domesticity at their camp in Alta, a world away from the cliffs.
For Strobridge and the railroad's backers, this was the goal. A train gliding effortlessly around the curve. The violence of its creation is smoothed over, the struggle made invisible. For the future passenger, there would be no hint of the cost. But from below, you could still see the scar, a permanent mark on the face of the mountain, but testament to the thousands of forgotten men who had chipped and blasted it into existence. A monument few would ever recognize.
Ultimately, the railroad imposed its will, a thin, unnatural line of order drawn across the chaos of the wilderness, a symbol of national ambition, of manifest destiny made real in iron and timber. But it's time we returned to who was watching.
And so we come back to this, to the audience, to the spectacle. The railroad was completed. The nation was joined. But the history books, they left something out. They don't mention the estimated 1,200 Chinese workers who died building this line. Their names were not recorded. Their deaths went uncounted. 1,200 souls, enough to fill this excursion train more than 10 times over. Their sacrifice was turned into entertainment. This photograph isn't a celebration. It is a haunting reminder that for every story we see, there is an unseen story, paid for in blood, waiting in the silence.
The echoes from that moment fade. Thank you for listening. The frontier is filled with untold tales. Perhaps you found a photograph that calls out for its story. Let us know in the comments below. we seek the next compelling mystery. If these echoes resonated with you, a simple like helps others find these lost stories. And to ensure you don't miss future whispers from the past, consider subscribing. Until we meet again.